Joel, what are we doing today?
We are doing the best guns of 2024, guys. We've got all of the electronic markers that are offered on the market, and we are doing the best guns of 2024, giving you guys our honest, true opinions, because that's what we do here at Punisher's Paintball. So, if you like this video, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to our channel if you think that our content's good, and we'll see you guys after the intro. Okay, Doug, so we've got all the different markers here when it comes to electronic markers. So we are covering mid-end markers and high-end markers today.
I got Taco Bell.
You got Taco Bell. And we are here to talk about kind of that mid-end range right now. Unfortunately, the only marker I think that we don't have in this comparison video is the Dye DSR Plus, but there are a bunch of really new colorways for the DSR Plus right now, and they just raised the price on it, Doug.
Raised
the price
for
on
not
the
having
DSR
done
Plus.
anything to it. That's weird because the 180R dropped in price.
Correct. And the Shocker's been the same price.
Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick here, let's talk about
that move, Dye.
Yeah, let's talk. It could be a supply issue, whatever the case may be, but let's talk about price point real quick. So obviously we've got one of our ultimate 180Rs here, but we have Doug's Shocker Era.
The grips are dirty. Don't look at me.
But that's going to retail for a price point of 1,000, whereas the 180R is going to retail for a price point of 900 for the base colors. They lowered the price. Doug still thought it was the 1,100 price.
I was trying to flip him, yeah, but he was like, no.
Yeah.
Down there.
And then, depending upon the color, Doug, for the DSR Plus, it's going to be 1,100 to 1,200.
Okay. For stock versus PGA and all that?
Correct. And right now, like for the month of December, they're running a promo where you get a free IM Pro Kit, which definitely changes things.
That offsets $100, so that's cool.
It does, but you know, obviously, if people are watching this in the future, right, that's not going to be a promo.
It's not going to help them. But
so Doug, let's talk about it. Out of the three here, between the 180R, the Shocker Era, and then the DSR Plus, what do you think? Like, what do you like features-wise between the three, and like, which one do you like the most?
I got you. Nutshell, packaging goes to Planet. Packaging and casing and all that goes to Planet. Best there is. I like the Heather. I like the Solid. Awesome. Gun-wise itself, here's your pros and cons. Softest shot goes to the DSR Plus, bar none. It is the softest shot. Nicest, that's up to opinion, but people tend to like a soft, squishy shot. So your softest shot is a DSR Plus. Ergonomically, my preference is the Shocker, especially the Era, because now it is that good balance of a much fatter foregrip. The rear grip still feels relatively the same, but they did extend it, so I really love the ergonomics of the Shocker.
Yeah.
But as far as overall value, and especially now with the price drop, I have to go with the 180. Well, because like the shot for me on the 180 isn't anything special, but it works. You get Planet Eclipse quality, they're easy to work on, and you get toolless features that you don't get on the Shocker, and even technically the DSR Plus, because you still have to get like a coin or a tool to undo the thing for the battery, which is a nightmare for me. But value-wise, bang for your buck, I'm going to have to go with the Planet Eclipse 180R in that mid-range.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that as well. I mean, the shot of the DSR Plus, a lot of guys seem to really like the DSR Plus when it comes to shot quality. For one, the feel of it is just too small for me. Like, we've got some regular base used DSR Pluses, and it's just such a small marker. And I know that like the DSR Plus is more extended, but it's still too small. The foregrip's too small. When I shoot the marker, it feels like I'm shooting too soft, to be honest with you.
I get that problem with the Shocker
complaint, but I really like the Shocker. I would think that like at that $1,000 price point, though, to your point, it needs to be toolless.
Yep.
And then, you know, since they've lowered the price, I think there's a lot more debate to be had at the $1,100 price point for the 180R, but at the $900 price point,
I can't argue.
It's really hard to argue with the 180R. As far as maintaining all three of them, definitively the 180R is the easiest one to work on. I would say
it's pretty similar, though, isn't it?
No, I'd say the Shocker is the most difficult to work on.
Over the Dye?
Yes.
Why?
100%. So the regulator has more moving parts. It's got two springs. Actually, it's got three springs technically, whereas like the HPR on the DSR Plus only has one spring.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you have that portion of things. There's different durometers on the bolt. So trying to figure out
anything out of the
factory.
factory.
I'll tell you what. Like for Cody and I, who work on guns all the time, That's a big factor because you don't know unless you're using the diagram. But with like the 180, everything's standard 70 durometer except for like 1 or 2 that are 90 durometer. Everything else is standard, so it's just what size is it. And same thing with the die. Same thing with the DSR Plus. So that's actually the least easiest to maintenance.
Interesting.
But I will say this, from a reliability perspective, as far as having to work on it,
I never have to do that shit to my gun. So
you know, the shocker's been relatively reliable. I'm still giving reliability to the 180R, and I'd say it's a toss. Sometimes you know.
I think between those two, and for the difference of $100, your best bet is to put it in your hands and shoot it.
Yeah.
Like it. There are some things that we can't tell you. It's personal preference. He's 6'3", I'm 5'8". Like,
well, I'll tell you what. As far as ergonomically, to your point, like you love your shocker. Ergonomically, for me, I'm choosing the shocker too. I actually ergonomically love the way the shocker feels because the shocker's the longest out of the 3.
Yep.
So I really like that about it. It's just it's not toolless, man.
It's not toolless, yeah. But since they made the foregrip fatter too, that was the biggest complaint, other than the eye board issue with the amp, which I haven't seen as much of.
I've seen it.
Have you seen the eye issue?
I've seen it fresh out the box.
Really?
I've seen it fresh out the box a few times. QC has been questionable. Not lately, but has been questionable. We shipped a few brand new guns where they're having issues with eyes or whatever the case may be. So full transparency here, guys. Like I'm just being honest. Whereas like I don't think I've ever shipped a 180 to somebody and had problems out of the box. And to be honest, to give die credit, like I don't think so.
They don't really have issues with their eyes. People don't like the eye pipe, but
correct.
As long as that's not cracked and working, then the eyes on any die gun are fine for me. So let's not drag them out. Let's move on a little bit to something else.
Let's move on to the high ends. Move on to the high ends. I guess we should talk about this before we.
MacDev's right in front of us. Yeah, we'll pull this boy out. So
before we retransition into the high ends.
Yes, since this was available for the majority of 2024, we did have the GTX come out at Cup, which is great, and it is retailing, I believe, but
it's 1600.
Yeah,
we are taking pre-orders, but they have not actually shipped us any yet.
Right, so I can't, in good faith, count that for 2024.
Correct.
But the GT2 was available throughout the year.
It was.
So we'll talk about that. Really, honestly, pretty smooth shooting gun. Like
for $1,400, it's a true high end.
I actually like this gun. Our issue with MacDev guys really has only ever been the support for their products and stuff.
Do you think people are annoyed with us saying that yet?
Nope. I think they're just going to agree. You can't really get annoyed at something that's true. But the ergonomics on these things feel super sweet. I think people might complain that the foregrip is a little skinny, kind of like the amp used to be. So if that, I'm not one that's bothered by that.
Foregrip is interchangeable though. Keep that in mind. Right. You can change it out with the Prime foregrip, which is that rubber one, and I like the rubber one. It's much thicker, yeah. It is a lot thicker and girthier, you know what I'm saying? Girthier. So I did like that about it, but overall it shoots really good, it's efficient, paint handles well, the board on it's nice, the flip lever ASA is nice, super nice it takes its inserts, which it doesn't take power inserts, but for $1,400, it's definitely a good consideration.
And it's on the low end of high-end priced guns, so it's easy access to the high end.
I think that's why we need to talk about it now instead of when we talk about all the high ends.
Yeah.
Is because it's a little bit. Here, let me help you out.
Yeah, I don't remember how you did it.
Before you knock all.
Oh, you went this way.
So yeah, guys, just some honorable mention there, and then once we actually get the MacDev GTX, that will be in our 2025 review on this. But with that said, enough of us talking. Let's move on to the high ends. And we're back. We're back with the high ends now, guys. So we've got the full array. I think we've got everything here except for the MacDev GTX, but we already talked about that, and it's not ready yet. So
doesn't count for 2024.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, we've got the LV2. We've got the entire Planet Eclipse lineup. We've got the LV2, the R5, and the CS3 here, and then we've got Luxe's offering the Idol. We've got a die MXR, and
AKA the CS4.
The CS4, and then the dies version of the CS3, and then we've got the V2 Force. So, Doug, let's talk about some features real quick. If you don't mind me just running through, since I'm so familiar with everything, I'm just going to run through and talk about what's unique about each gun. What do you think? Okay. All right. So first, we've got the Luxe Idol. The one thing that's unique about the Luxe Idol, guys, is that Pro Lock frame. So it's going to be completely toolless to pop that off. They changed the new OLED screen from the TM40, so that's a really nice feature. The bolt system is nice. It's more of a snappy shot compared to the TM40. You're still going to get that same level of efficiency from the TM40 into the Idol. And from a reliability perspective, it seems to be pretty good so far. We haven't seen a lot of issues with the Idol. I've talked to a few like semi-pro teams that have used them, and they've had nothing but good things to say from a reliability perspective, which is really nice.
My biggest concern when they talked about the back of it with the metal thing was going to come, I thought the backing of it was going to be a risk to fall off because it's magnetic. Has that happened to anybody?
It's not magnetic.
Oh, I thought
the back faceplate is not magnetic.
Oh, maybe the initial prototype I saw was magnetic.
It is like a pin, and it's actually very difficult to remove. So I'd be very surprised if anybody removed the faceplate on it.
Nice.
So, yep.
Sweet.
So there's that portion. They did change the case on the Idol. So overall, like, the Idol is 100%. I know that the resale value has really just with the Idol, but I will say this: I think it's worth the money. I really do.
Are they still trying to retail at $1,800?
Yeah, I mean they're on sale right now, but like I think they shot themselves in the foot in two different ways. One, they should never release a gun with the grips in the situation that they were and saying, "Hey, we're going to get you grips," and then they spent almost a year getting people that are grips, even though people were spending good money on these guns. And secondly, what was I going to say? Secondly,
not a ride reader. Sometimes they have. This time
I blanked. Anyways, but I think the grip thing was definitely a problem. But overall, guys, the gun's really nice, and I think that it's worth more than what the current resale value is on the used market. But
still haven't even shot one because I was gone for this past year while they were.
It's definitely snappier than the TM40, but it's a good shooter.
I gotta shoot it at some point.
We got the tried and true LV2.
I love the LV2.
If you guys are tinkerers, tuners, the LV2 is going to be your option. It's got an LPR. It's got an HPR. You can change things. You can take the light rammer, heavy rammer, all that stuff. They changed a lot of different features from the LV 1.6. Solenoid is serviceable. Toolless eye covers, toolless battery. And just overall, really solid gun. Shoots really well. I think most people's main complaint with the LV2 is the size. It's a very large marker, but overall very good. Then we've got the R5, which, the R5.
That took the market by storm.
It did. It's one of the best shooters on the market right now.
I have to agree.
And it's got a very slow bolt speed, so to your point, you were just talking off camera about bolt speed issues in the cold. We'll talk about that here in a second, but as far as features, a ton changed from the Geo 4. A ton.
Yeah.
New bolt system, the new board system that's featured in the CS3 and the LV2. The eye system is different. The Geo 4 used the cable system, whereas this uses the reflective system of the CS3. The LV2 still has that cable system, so I think that's a disadvantage compared to the CS3 and the RR5.
Because they're in a similar price point, $1,600, $1,650, right? Or are they both $1,600? Yeah, no, $1,650.
Yeah, so, and you're going to get the S63, you're going to get 2 inserts. Then we've got the CS3. The CS3 is tried and true. The way that Jack Wood explained it when he got on a conference call with all of us retailers when they released the R5 was the R5 is like that kind of like semi-mid-level tinkerer, whereas the CS3s are plug and chug. It's still their flagship. It's still
an AK-47.
Yeah, and the R5 is a bigger gun. And for some people, like Cody, for example, Cody doesn't like the R5. He likes how it shoots, kind of, but he doesn't like the size of it. It's just long.
That's me with the LV2.
It's a big gun.
The LV2 is my favorite shot in paintball. Like if I'm just plinking for bullshit, I love the LV2. I couldn't use that practically. It's too big for me. Same with the R5.
For sure. We've got the new Dye MXR. Dye's new flagship marker. Really, really like the MXR, but we're going to talk, now that they've actually been out into the market for a little bit, we're going to talk about some of the concerns with the MXR. But the MXR is going to come with 3 inserts. The PGA colors are going to be 1650, so you're kind of at that like mid-level of the high-end price range. You're kind of like right in the middle, whereas like the black, you're going to be at the lower level for $1,500. They changed the packaging a little bit. The MXR is completely refined from the M3.
It's a total departure.
I really like it.
I do too.
I really do, but
you guys know my opinion on the company as a whole. I fuck with the gun.
For sure.
I like it.
All right, and then we've got the V2 Force. They updated a few things on the V2 Force, and the V2 Force has a few nice features on it. One thing that I do like is the foregrip. You can move it back and forth. It is either AA's or a LiPo battery, which is cool. It's very soft on paint, and it's got the AccuLock barrel system, which is nice, and it's got a full OLED screen on the back of it.
The AccuLock is one of the few unique, novel products in the modern day of paintball, barrel systems.
Yeah,
there's nothing else like it.
So we got the V2 Force. All right, so that's a little introduction as far as the different features and some of the background on all the markers. Doug, with that said, like, what's your general vibe on all these markers when it comes to what do you think? I mean, you shot.
I've shot all but the Idol. So I mean, honestly, if we're talking shot, ergonomics, things like that, I'm gonna give the most shocking answer in the world. I'm gonna go with the MXR.
All right, so since you're saying that, let's talk. Let's talk real quick. Let's talk about this MXR. We've sold quite a few MXRs so far.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. And we've had a few issues with chopping paint. Has been one issue, and I've seen one or two that have had issues with leaking very early on as far as that goes. And where I'm at with the situation is the bolt speed thing. Like when they first released it, there was a whole issue with the O-ring being the wrong size in the breech sleeve. Very innovative idea there with the metal breech sleeve as compared to the plastic of past, right?
Yep.
And the O-ring, they fixed that, and I thought, okay, you know, that's probably going to fix the issue because we shot that Valken paint for the brittle paint test,
and it was
shot money.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well maybe that kind of. I think it's partially the people I've talked to are in colder weather. It's been a few people that I've talked to, customers or friends or whatever.
And at some point, guys, if you're in the cold, there's nothing a marker can do.
I think, yeah. I think if you're talking about cold weather, my two options is the Idol and the CS3.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. If you're a cold weather player right now in the winter, then the Idol, in my opinion, takes that. No questions asked. Like the Luxe has always done since the TM40 has done, or actually since the Luxe Ice, it's been the most reliable in cold weather. I remember like a few years ago when we were at MXR Louisville and it was snow on the ground.
Was that 2018?
No, it was in 2018.
2021.
2021.
That's when I was there, yep.
Yeah.
There was.
The Luxes had the least amount of issues even over Planet. So there's that portion of things. Okay, sorry. I mean, steal your thunder.
No.
But you really like the MXR. So
if I had to pick
there's
a second,
a few concerns, but
the concerns are the chopping, the bolt speed, the leaking, which if it's only been a couple, everything's going to leak here and there, but
I think if you're in warm weather, it's not a concern.
While I can't get behind the company as a whole, I do like the marker. My second choice. Why? Because they touch kids, man. Sorry. When the dude that runs the thing, decides to make some questionable choices.
I don't know if it's been proven, but yeah, it's
at least allegations, which is not great. So educate yourself on that before purchasing.
Yeah.
My second shooter, though, out of all these that I would pick, in terms of how much I like the shot, is the other one that we have to discuss, which is the R5. The one that absolutely took the market by storm. I do think.
What's your thoughts on the ergonomics?
To me, it does feel longer, but it's similar enough
to like
That's right. But it's similar enough to like the CS3 where I'm like, it's still a CS4 to me. It's fine. For me, I like the CS3. I actually just recommended to my buddy Alex the other day. He was between a CS3 and I can't remember what else, but actually it was between that and an R5. And I said, honestly, for the fact that you will simply have to do less to it and mess with it less, go with the CS3. It doesn't have the cold weather issues, and it didn't have the whole hopper issue when they first came out. That very confusing to me that Virtue never had to reprogram anything until all of a sudden this one marker comes out.
It's because of the bolt speed. So to touch on that a little bit, as far as I was talking about the slow bolt speed, it's significantly slower than everything else on the market. So that's part of the reason why you get that like really soft, poofy shot. And I would assume from a brittle paint perspective, it's got to be really good. Because it introduces the ball slowly. And all these are really good. I mean, the Luxe Idol has the bolt guide that's flush. So
there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. It's all.
And the LV2 is great on paint. But regardless of that, it's because of the bolt speed.
Okay.
Is basically what it was. They weren't ready for something that's that slow. So if you're looking for, like high rates of fire, the CS3 is a better option than the R5. In that sense.
So do you think even if you were to put it on like uncapped semi for both of them, and put a rotor on it, the fastest loader, you don't think you could like?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't tested it. Maybe that's a video. Maybe that's a video that we should do: is strap a rotor to it and see how fast we can get to shoot.
Give it to me. Put it on uncapped semi.
But here's the other thing too: is like you can adjust it, right? Like it's the same thing with LV2. Like the LV2, you can make that thing cycle really fast. With the Geo R5, if you put the stainless steel and you turn it all the way up, it's going to
be very snappy,
make that.
right?
Yeah, it's going to make that forward stroke of the bolt be faster, right? So it's tunable. To a certain extent, it's tunable.
Right.
So
I don't know, man. Yeah, there are no bad choices with any of this. I have not shot the Idol literally at all, which is amazing to me. It's been out for over a year, and I've only touched one here in the shop and once at Cup. So,
yeah.
But yeah, out of these options, I'm going MXR first for the marker itself. Just feel, ergonomics. It just felt good. It was what I wanted out of the CS2. That the CS2 was missing. Ergonomics to me feel extremely similar to the CS line, and the shot is just more satisfying. It is.
I really like the MXR.
I like what they did with the trigger too.
So if you got $2,000 in your pocket right now, tax return just hit, you're spending your money on the MXR.
Probably. If you're telling me I can't buy a shocker, then yeah.
Okay. All right.
If I'm not allowed to buy
these markers, you're choosing that.
Out of this line, I probably would. I would deal with the issues that it's coming with because I like it that much.
Yeah, especially like if you're using it during the summertime. Like, let's be honest, not a lot of paintballs being played right now.
I'm not playing right now.
You know, so it's one of those situations. At least for us up here in the north. So it's one of those situations where like anything 50 plus, I don't think the marker's gonna have trouble cycling. So it's when it starts to get really cold, and you know, I think that there's questionable reliability on all of these when it comes to that. Whether besides maybe the CS3 and the Idol, and if you tune the LV, if you know how to tune the LV2 right, the LV2 as well.
So if you're looking for an AK-47, go for the CS3. If you want something that is mostly reliable and also just shoots really well,
yeah,
MXR.
All right, so here's where I'm at with things.
Okay.
I've been toying around with the idea of shooting the MXR this year as compared to the R5, and I've got a bunch of different reasons. I'm going to pick the R5. That's what I'm going to be shooting for next season. One, because I love Planet Eclipse as a company, first and foremost. That's reason number one. But I won't lie with you, Doug. I'm right there with you with MXR.
Yep.
I really do like the MXR. I did a good job with the marker. I have a lot of my own personal reasons that I don't want to disclose on camera about why I won't shoot the MXR.
That's fine. I'll say it. I said it.
There's others, but I really like the MXR. I like the way it feels. I like the way it shoots. If I'm the consumer, I'm also a little bit concerned about the reliability if I'm in cold weather. Whereas like with the R5, I think that there is some questions when it's concerning as far as cold weather. That's a question, Bill. But I am choosing to shoot the R5 for next year just because I really like the way it shoots. Ergonomically, it feels good in my hands. It's got some great features to it. So that's my main reason. And, you know, honorable mention to the Luxe Idol. I think that the Luxe Idol is really nice. The trigger's nice. It has features that these other markers don't have.
True.
And
it's the only fully toolless, like, disassembled marker.
It is. And they are so easy to maintenance. Like, it's just the bolt system. You pop the frame off, you clean it, you put it back together, and, you know, the mech conversion's the easiest on the Idol.
How's the reg?
Reg's piece of cake.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. You could probably put a couple 100,000 cycles on that thing without ever having to touch it. It's that simple. It's literally remove the reg nut out the bottom, remove the reg body, piston comes right out, clean it, put it back together.
All right, Baker, then is the Idol the AK-47 or is it the CS3?
I mean, CS3.
Okay.
CS3. But honestly, to give credit where credit's due, the Luxe Idol's no joke, for sure. So, but yeah, guys, I'm choosing the R5. This is really long-winded, but I'm sure that people are watching this because they want our honest opinion.
Detailed info.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm choosing to shoot the R5, but it is a very close second runner-up for me when it comes to the MXR. But all things considered, everything, I think the R5 right now is the best high-end marker that there is out. So that's why I'm picking the R5. And Doug,
if you give me $2,000. MXR, R5, kind of either one. I will go MXR just because I do like the ergos and the shot a little bit more, but for the fact that like I don't support them, maybe I'll do R5.
Dude, this is mind blowing to me. Doug picks the gun.
I know.
Guys, I don't know what's happening, but we need to be really concerned. I think Doug's running a fever.
2024 was a bad year, a very bad year for Doug. But hey, you know what? They had to rip off Planet enough for me to like the thing. So that's a total rip. You can't tell me it's not.
If anybody from Dye's watching this, he said that, not me.
Yep.
All right, there you guys have it. That is Best Guns of 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any feedback for us on all these markers, we'd love to hear it in the comments and everything else like that. Obviously, we did not include the GTX one more time for all the people that are going to say you didn't include the MacDev gun. But, stay tuned because we're going to be bringing out a lot of content on that. And, thank you guys so much for watching. Doug?
Go Bucks!